Project Sakai added some changes recently, and even though I'm a bit late, I want to talk about it. Also, I want to point out that I do all my videos on the EN server, but today we're going to be playing on JP. Japan is roughly a year ahead of other servers, so everything I talk about in this video will probably come to the other servers in about a year. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that we've already discussed note speed and offsets. If not, I recommend definitely checking those videos out, since the update kind of reworks both, as well as adds some new features. So, a quick recap. Note speed sets how fast the notes come down the lanes. Increasing this helps spread the notes out to become more readable. And your offset, or timing, adjusts the notes in relation to the music. Again, I go into more details in these videos, so do check them out if you haven't already. But one of the changes is that you're able to adjust your speed and offset more precisely, so you can increase or decrease the value by 0.01 increments. I personally aren't really going to utilize this change as much, but this is great for players who feel like they need an in-between for the values that they gave you before. The second thing I want to talk about though is actually a huge feature that I'm surprised a lot of people aren't talking about. And it's the option to adjust where the starting position is for notes. So I'm used to calling this sudden plus from playing DDR and 2DX. But in order to talk about its usefulness, we first have to look at note speed from a different perspective. Right now, you probably only think of note speed as like these values. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how the game has it set up for you. But let's forget about that for a second. Instead, let's look at it as the time it takes the note to go from the top of the screen to the judgment line. Right now, I play with a speed of 10.9, which translates to just about 224 milliseconds. So let's think of my read speed as 224. If we adjust our start position lower and slow down the note speed, theoretically, if the time it takes to go from the top to the bottom is still 224, you should still be able to read it as if it's 10.9. Here's a simple way to calculate what settings to use. For example, let's use my note speed, 10.9. Write that down and place it to the side. Now let's say you want to drop your speed down to 8.0. Now take your old note speed and subtract your new note speed from it. You'll be left with 2.9. Just take away the decimal, and now this is the value you should adjust your starting position to. From my testing, the two speeds are maybe 1 or 2 frames off from each other, which is actually still pretty close. We're talking about 16 to maybe 30 milliseconds, and that's close enough for me. So why is any of this important? Isn't this just some kind of gimmick that you can turn on to show off? Well, that's what I used to think speed mods were way back in the day when I first started playing rhythm games. But here are some use cases. If you're like me and like to keep your notifications on a tablet, it's not really much of an issue, but on a phone, it can completely destroy your full combo, and in some cases result in you failing the song. You can adjust your start position so that notifications will be out of the way from your notes. This is something I had to do when I first started playing 2DX. The way that our machine was positioned at the arcade was that the top of the lanes had a horrible glare from the venue lights, so I had to lower the game area. Another use case is when notes become so dense, you need to keep increasing your speed in order to read them, but at some point the notes just become way too fast. Adjusting the starting position can help you lower the speed the notes are physically moving, while still maintaining the same reaction speed needed to hit the notes accurately. And the last thing I want to point out, now this is a very specific use case, because this really only affects those who read at a very high speed, but if you're playing on a device that only has a 60Hz display, the faster the notes are, the more likely you'll run into some ghosting. Being able to slow down the notes while maintaining your reaction time is a great option if that's an issue you're running into. Now, if you didn't have any issues before with your notes, you probably won't have any issues going forward with these changes. But I love how they're giving us more options for customization. But at the end of the day, these are just tools, and it's really up to you if you want to utilize them or not. What do you guys think about these changes? Have you already messed with any of the settings so far? Does it not really affect you at all? Or do you think this was a complete waste of time and resources? Let me know in a comment down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hoping you leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And here's a video YouTube thinks you might enjoy.